Okay. Well, good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome, everyone, to part 2 of the Dubai Advantage webinar series. After a very successful webinar last week on Dubai's thriving healthcare sector, today's session will cover Dubai's logistics sector and the opportunities it offers to U.S. businesses. I'm honored to participate today with co-host Seyfarth, a global leading law firm and with key offices in Houston, Texas, which is why we are this focus is coming as on Texas. Also, very pleased to have on the presentation this morning and on the webinar His Excellency Saeed Al-Mari, the UAE Consul General in Houston, and Fahad Al-Gargawi and Saeed Al-Awadi, CEO of Dubai FDI and CEO of Dubai Exports, both their excellencies, and other guests that we will introduce momentarily. Let me just say that since the UAE's formation in 1971, the country's leadership has made significant investments in the construction of world-class ports, airports, roads, logistics facilities, and other infrastructure. These far-sighted investments have reaped enormous dividends, transforming the UAE into the business, trade, travel, tourism, and transshipment hub for the greater Middle East, North Africa region. As someone who cares deeply about the U.S.-UAE relationship, I'm proud of the role that leading U.S. companies have played in building much of the infrastructure that has made the UAE what it is today. Moreover, I'm also very proud to see many U.S. companies attracted by this infrastructure and these opportunities to establish opportunities in the UAE, to establish operations in the UAE. For instance, companies like FedEx use Dubai as a regional hub as it offers access to the Middle East, the Indian subcontinent, Africa, and the Asia-Pacific region. I should note FedEx's 1,200-plus team of members in Dubai have played a critical role in the global response to the current public health crisis, helping deliver necessary medical supplies and PPE around the world to mitigate the spread of COVID-19. Our very close friend and colleague from Dubai South, Mohsen Anab, we will be on the discussion later, and he will talk about some of these logistics efforts. Etihad and Emirates Airline from Dubai is on the webinar today as well, and will discuss some of the cargo aspects of what happened during COVID-19 and what's coming next as a result. Today, I hope to see many more U.S. companies inspired to make the decision to establish operations in Dubai. In addition to an impressive assortment of companies, we are pleased to have representatives from a number of other states in the United States beyond Texas. We have Alabama, Florida, Minnesota, Mississippi, Missouri, and Utah represented on the call today, along with the great state of Texas playing host. Thank you all for taking the time to join us this morning. Moreover, we are pleased to have a very impressive slate of speakers, which I've highlighted, to talk about Dubai as the logistics powerhouse that it is today. Before introducing the speakers specifically for each one of their sets of discussion, let me draw your attention to the Q&A feature within the WebEx platform. It's at the bottom of your screen, and we encourage you to pose and post your questions for the various speakers as we go through the webinar, and we have saved some time at the end to then answer and discuss your questions. Over the course, if I could go to slide 2, please. Over the course of this session, in addition to hearing from our partners at Seyfarth, we are pleased to have 3 prominent UAE free zones, trade zones presenting today: Dubai South, Jebel Ali Free Zone, and Dubai Airport Free Zone. They will be joined by 2 important Dubai government institutions, Dubai Exports and Dubai FDI. And last but not least, as I said, we will hear from the Emirates Sky Cargo Group, the cargo wing of the leading UAE airline, Emirates Airline. If we could go to slide 3, this will show you our officials and our speakers today on the agenda and our agenda for the day. And then if we could, please, we're going to have quickly an opening video before I turn it over to our first speaker. Please, we could play the video. They say a picture paints 1,000 words. A video like that obviously paints many, many more and gives you a very important impression of what's happening in Dubai today with regard to logistics and transportation. With that, I'd like to turn it over to the true organizer of this event and the lead co-host, if you will, Sai Padala, the senior counsel at Seyfarth Shah. Sai is an international corporate and commercial lawyer with significant cross-border and technology transactional experience across many industries and sectors. Sai and Seyfarth Shah are partners to Dubai FDI in their roadshow efforts in the United States, and we are pleased once again from the Business Council's perspective to partner with Sai and such a reputable firm to co-host this webinar. Sai, over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Danny, for your gracious introduction. I appreciate it as always. Just to reiterate very quickly, my name is Sai Padala. I'm Senior Counsel at Seyfarth Shah. It's an AmLaw 100 ranked international law firm. We have about 1,000 attorneys in over 17 offices spread across the world. I spearhead the Middle East practice in conjunction with my colleagues across the world. It's a multidisciplinary practice. We also have a robust transportation and logistics practice that includes many high-profile, prominent individuals who've served in various presidential administrations at the top of the U.S. Department of Transportation and the like. Historically, Dubai has long served as a critical crossway for international trade. It's no secret that its relevance continues today with respect to international trade channels, given its strategic and central location. But above and beyond that, Dubai has been incredibly successful in building an impressive logistics infrastructure in what used to be an expansive patch of desert. This infrastructure includes one of the world's busiest ports in Jebel Ali and the array of assets owned and operated by DP World, for example. These ports enjoy a worldwide reach that is a foundation and impetus to international exports and imports. There are also numerous dry ports and ground logistics pathways that interconnect the GCC and parts of South Asia. As we march forward to emerging out of a COVID world, it's important that traders, merchants, and shippers worldwide know of and understand the Dubai advantage and how to tap into it, not just for Dubai's benefit, but also to give themselves a competitive advantage in today's dynamic marketplace. As an attorney, as a businessman, and just as an observer of market trends, I and Seyfarth Shah are obviously here to help our clients, contacts, people who are curious to do business in Dubai, and people who just have questions about how they can enter the market. So we remain here at your disposal. And last but not least, we are certainly glad to partner with the U.S.-UAE Business Council and with Dubai FDI and with the other organizations presenting today. So thank you very much.
Sai, thank you very much for those great words about Dubai as a logistics hub in the region and the world. Very, very critical, very, very important. It's my great honor to next introduce Consul General Saeed Al-Mary. His Excellency Saeed Al-Mary was appointed as the Consul General in Houston from the United Arab Emirates in November of 2016. He hit the ground running. I think we've partnered with him with a few events in Houston already, most recently last fall. Prior to his assignment in Houston, he headed the consular section at the UAE Embassy in Washington, D.C., where we also had the great pleasure of working with him during his time there. His Excellency is an amazing resource for Texas companies interested in expanding, growing, or opening for the first time business in the UAE. Your Excellency, thank you so much for joining us today. Over to you for your thoughts and comments.
Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Good morning, everyone here in Houston, in the USA, and good evening to everyone in back home in UAE, in Dubai. Thank you, Danny, for the information that you gave about our consulates here in Houston. We are always looking to have support for the companies who want to establish businesses in UAE in general, and particularly in Dubai, in this region. So I would like to start by giving special thank you to U.S. UAE Business Council, our friend at Seyfarth show, our partnership Dubai FTI, and everyone else who made today's timely event possible. While we must meet virtual today, I believe that these online engagements are critical to keeping the conversation moving in the wake of COVID-19, and I hope you find today's presentation informative and useful. I also look forward to the opportunity to speak with you all in person as soon as it's safe to do so. Before I begin, I would like to provide some background about UAE Consulate in Houston and the UAE relationship with Texas. In light of our current circumstances, I also want to share important steps the UAE is keeping to support wider business community as we seek adapt or rebuild from the impact of COVID-19. Today, gathering reflect our border community to take doing business in UAE as attractive, transparent, and straightforward as possible. The UAE maintains a strong and dynamic relationship with the state of Texas. Over the past 4 years, Texas exported $10.9 billion worth of goods and services to the UAE, the second highest export total of all 50 states. Lastly, as the global community continue to manage through the impact of coronavirus pandemic, I'd like to highlight some of the measures that UAE has taken to maintain a strong economic environment and support businesses and individuals in need. At the federal level, the Central Bank of UAE has authorized $70 billion stimulus package that will allow banks and financial institutions to offer continued access to funding for private sector companies and small medium enterprises. Moreover, the Ministry of Economy has reduced the number of services fees, further enhancing the ease of doing business in the process. Beyond the national level, each of UAE's 7 emirates has enacted additional measures to safeguard business and individuals in the line with the local circumstances. For example, the Dubai government has fully committed to support Emirates Airline throughout this crisis. Additionally, the Crown Prince of Dubai has announced a number of local stimulus measures to reduce the financial burden on individuals and companies. The Dubai Free Zone Council has announced a stimulus package to strengthen Dubai comprehensive and ensure business community for companies operating in the free zone. Dubai International Financial Center has rolled out its own support package for businesses partners, providing companies with added flexibility to financial relief. Finally, the UAE cabinet has recently undergone a major reshuffle amid to positions our business environments for future access. A few key adjustments include the appointment of 2 additional Ministry of Economy for international trade and for small, medium enterprises, and the certitudes of Ministry of Industry and Advanced Technology, led by His Excellency Dr. Sultan Al Jaber, who also serves as CEO of Abu Dhabi National Oil Company. These are just a few of the steps that we have taken to support businesses, and the UAE will continue to introduce opportunities measures to maintain a strong and resilient business environment that will flourish in the future. I hope that we'll have today's event with a better understanding of the new market opportunities that are emerging in Dubai and across the UAE. Please, if you have any kind of question or need any support, we are here in Houston to support the companies who want to establish business in UAE in general and Dubai particularly with our partners with US UAE Business Councils and Seyfarth legal firm. Thank you so much.
Your Excellency, thank you. David, could I just ask you to take down that screen share that you have and put His Excellency up on the screen for everyone so they can see? That would be really helpful if you could do that for me, David. And then next, I know we're supposed to have His Excellency Fahad Al-Gargawi, but I'm not sure, I don't believe he has joined yet. Is that correct? I believe Saeed Al-Wadi is going to speak in his place. Saeed, we know that you're Fahad's sidekick, and you guys work together in tandem on so many important initiatives. So we appreciate very much you speaking on his behalf this morning. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Hi, everybody. Of course, Fahad Al-Gargawi, the CEO of Dubai FDI, is supposed to give this presentation, but I think he had the difficulty for logging in. I'm going to read his speech on his behalf. First of all, thank you for joining us today for a discussion on the opportunities in Dubai logistics sector and how businesses and investors worldwide, and particularly in the United States, can profit from these opportunities. A big thank you to Seyfarth Show and the US UAE Business Council for hosting this webinar series. Our sincere thanks also to the US Commercial Services for their support, Saeed Al-Mheri, His Excellency, for presenting with us, our UAE Embassy in Consul General in Houston, and our UAE Embassy in Washington. Joining us on this discussion are Senior Executive of Dubai Exports, Dubai South, the Aviation and Logistic Economic Zone, Dubai Airport Free Zone, Jebel Ali Free Zone, and Emirates Sky Cargo. Together, we will present to you the Dubai Advantage, the opportunities for partnership and investment in the logistics sector. Logistics forms a crucial part of the Government of Dubai Strategic Growth Plan. The importance of our focus on developing a vital global logistics hub became evident during the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. Dubai continuing investment in multimodal facilities and infrastructure over decades has ensured that our city played no small role in ensuring a flow of essential goods along the COVID-19 supply chain. This includes humanitarian aid and shipment of essential goods. Many United Nations agencies have made Dubai their hub for distribution of personal protective equipment, ventilators, ambulances, test kits, and food supplies to the Middle East, Africa, and Asia. The infrastructure has, however, primarily been developed to support trade, business, and investment flows. Dubai's geographical location at what we like to call the center of the world has always been a strong incentive to invest in infrastructure that enhances global supply chain. We continue to invest in this development. Dubai is the city of the future and an established gateway to the Middle East for global businesses. We give you seamless access to a market of 2.4 billion consumers in the region. At the same time, Dubai is a global hub for trade and investment flows. This is mature and growing infrastructure. Dubai offers strong reasons to invest in its logistics sector, with infrastructure that includes the 9th largest sea and container port globally, the world's busiest airport, one of the world's largest airline network, an ultra-modern highway system connecting to the neighboring countries, and 3PL and climate-controlled warehousing facilities. The UAE and the USA have a strong trading partnership. Since 2009, the UAE has been the top export market for the US goods in the Middle East and North Africa region. Trade between the UAE and the USA has increased by more than 40% during this decade. With total trade between the two countries amounting to $24.3 billion in 2019. This relationship is based on solid foundations: aircraft and spacecraft, electronics, passenger vehicles, precious metal. These are some of the high-value U.S. exports to the UAE, supported by mature logistic infrastructure. The UAE continues to be a diverse, stable, and secure country with global connectivity and a high ease of doing business. More than 200 nationalities and over 60% of Fortune 1000 companies have a presence in Dubai. The Dubai Plan 2021 includes logistics as a key driver of growth. With the Expo 2020 coming up next year, the logistics landscape in Dubai is undergoing a rapid upgrade. To continue being among the finest in the world, our future-focused vision and preparedness have positioned Dubai as one of the world's most important economic nodes. An ever-increasing demand of e-commerce, which has seen unprecedented growth during the COVID-19 pandemic, combined with the rapid implementation of cutting-edge technologies of the future, have ensured Dubai positioning as a leading hub for logistics in the Middle East and globally. As a subsector, retail logistics is witnessing growing investor interest. The UAE government continues to invest in logistics through its budgeted spend on infrastructure such as ports, roads, and so on. The federal budget for 2020 has allocated $2.7 billion or 14% of its budget to infrastructure and economic resources. Dubai's budget for 2020 also stresses on development of infrastructure, with $2.2 billion earmarked specifically to develop infrastructure projects and their financing mechanism. The logistics sector benefited directly from the increased spending on support infrastructure. In addition, demand for modern logistic facilities continues to encourage new investments. We expect Dubai logistics sector to play a fundamental role in the post-COVID global economic recovery. I can assure you that the government of Dubai understands this and is determined to support the sector. I invite you to be an integral part of this future. Our team at Dubai FDI, along with our government partners, is ready to help you in any matter required. One, to invest and identify and build effective partnership and provide the information you may need. Please come and join hands with us as we invest in the future. Thank you for your time and attention.
Your Excellency, thank you so much for those very kind remarks on behalf of His Excellency Fahad Al-Gawi, the CEO of Dubai FDI. Now I get to formally introduce you, sir, so that you can make a few remarks on behalf of Dubai Exports as the CEO of Dubai Exports. You've led Dubai Exports to ensure the success of the export sector in the Emirate of Dubai through providing guidance and practical support to overseas buyers and suppliers. Dubai Exports develops long-term growth strategies to help businesses expand and maximize opportunities given by Dubai's unique position, as we've said, as a natural trade gateway between the East and the West. Over to you, kind sir. Thank you for all that you do to promote business between the U.S. and the UAE. please.
Thank you, Danny. Thank you, everybody. Again, my name is Saad Al-Awadi. I am the CEO of Dubai Exports, an agency within the Dubai Economic Department. Just continuation on what Fahad in Fahad's speech about infrastructure, logistics, and trade. The USA is the largest economy in the world, of course, and one with population with highest disposable income. The United States consumes a huge range of goods and services, and does so in astounding volumes, and that is why we have been targeting the country since 2011. Exporting halal and the export is important, as an estimated 3.45 million Muslims are living in the U.S., about 1.1% of the total U.S. population. There are 1.7 million Arab Americans in the U.S. Dubai Export has a number of successes in the U.S., such as local perfume company who is selling as perfume in over 300 stores in the U.S. The total trade which Fahad mentioned is mainly in these sectors: machinery, precious metal, electrical machinery, aircraft, vehicles, and so on. Dubai Exports activities in the U.S., of course, there are several, but mainly is we started our trade mission to the U.S. since 2011. Every year until 2019, in coordination with FDI, we had a couple of exporting to the USA seminars in the U.S. consulate here in Dubai. We initiated discussion with the U.S. consulate in Dubai for African companies to use Dubai as a gateway to USA to export under the AGWA agreement, and so on. So there is a lot of activities both in the UAE and the US for promoting trade between our countries. Going forward, Dubai Export is working for the following. We are looking at initiative to support food security, medical, health, PPEs, manufacturing, and so on. And second, collaboration on technology transfer, especially in the area of hydroponic growing, agribusiness, agriculture, and so on. Developing trade link and re-export hub, and business-to-business matchmaking meeting during major exhibitions in Dubai, like Gulf Food, Air Show, GITEX, and so on. And last, cooperation with e-commerce companies to use Dubai for its regional expansion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I couldn't get the mute button off there. Very much appreciate those kind remarks, and I think there's going to be some questions on some of that when we get to the Q&A for sure, about some of the services that Dubai Exports provides, and Dubai FDI for that matter. If we could go please next to my very good friend and colleague Mohsen Ahmed, who we've worked with at Dubai South. He's the CEO of Logistics District at Dubai South, and someone that, again, we've worked with since Dubai South was first initially being created. Mohsen's played an instrumental role in developing and setting up Dubai South and the Dubai Logistics Corridor. He has the Logistics District, including all operations, maintenance, and business-related activities. If you don't know, Dubai South is a free zone that supports a number of activities, including logistics, aviation, commercial, exhibition, humanitarian, residential, and other related businesses around the Al Maktoum International Airport, which has ambitions to become one of the largest airports in the world. And also, if you don't know, it's co-located around or at Expo 2020 and the southern corridor of Dubai, across from Jebel Ali and the activities at the Jebel Ali port. My dear friend Mohsen, over to you, and thank you so much.
Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it. It's a pleasure being here. Good morning to the folks in the U.S., Your Excellency, or Consul General Saeed Al-Meheri, for your time here. It's actually a pleasure to be here. It's something I'm quite passionate about. To talk about the sort of the logistics of and the role Dubai plays in sort of becoming sort of a regional hub when we're talking about logistics. I think Danny had one of the sort of a video I haven't seen, so I guess the picture sort of explains 1,000 words. Was it great for that? What you showed in the video?
Mohsen, do you have a video now that you want to play?
No, I don't have a video. I've got a
Okay.
presentation. So I think I'm just gonna if you go to the next slide, please.
There we go.
Yeah.
David can do that.
David's got the key. So I'll skip this
go.
one. This is just an introduction, which has already been done. I think if we look at the logistics industry, it is one of the key sectors when it comes to sort of development of logistics. Certainly in Dubai's economy, it plays a major role. It's one of the key pillars of the economic contribution to Dubai, and certainly we're expecting sort of a growth in there, and predominantly because of the great infrastructure that has been put by various entities that play a role in there, being it sort of our flagship two key players with DP World and Emirates Sky Cargo. I think today when we look at sort of the value of this industry is quite a significant amount. We're looking about in the UAE about 220 billion dirhams worth, close to about $60 billion of there. The technology has played a major role in that in the logistics, and it played sort of a very contributed when especially during the pandemic with all those what we have seen. If we go next, please. David, yeah, and I think one of the things that because of that infrastructure, sort of that brought us the two countries between U.S. and UAE very close when it came to the trade, and the fact that UAE is the largest sort of trading partner in the region with US UAE trade. And that's mainly because of the great logistics infrastructure that is available, that many of the U.S. companies are benefiting to serve not just the UAE, but I think the greater region of sort of Middle East, North Africa, and we've seen recently even a shift to serving the Southeast Asia, where some of the U.S. companies who are taking Dubai as a hub. So the region has grown more and more, and again, thanks to the great connectivity that it represents. Of course, that also resulted in a lot of job creations within the U.S., which we're very proud of, that we are contributing to that. But I think today we also, I think one thing that we shouldn't forget is what happened a couple of days ago with sort of the UAE's launch of the satellite mission, which was a significant milestone to showcase the strength of the country in taking the economy to a much a greater greater sectors that it wasn't unheard of in some of the Middle East countries. Next, please. I think one of the things that you're going to probably see it in most of the other slides with my colleagues who are following me is just the location of Dubai. It's a city with two airports. It's one of the few cities in the world with have two airports. Of course, Dubai International is the largest international, busiest airport that you see it on the far, sort of the right, or I would say the north of Dubai. For the folks who are not familiar with Dubai, I think the landmark there, you see Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest building, and then if we look at sort of on the far left, where Dubai South is located, it's very close on sort of connecting to Jebel Ali Port, and then you've got obviously where Danny was reiterating. It is where Al Maktoum International Airport is getting developed, and also you see a lot of quite an extensive network of today and some of the future connectivities being in the road or the rail or even the sort of the metro connectivities that are there today. Next, please. Dubai South, as an entity, we use the terminology that sort of started with this, where the airport is the heart of this project, is a terminology that was used by the University of North Carolina, where they called Aerotopolis, where a city is being built around the airport. The heart of it is the airport. We've got industrial areas, which we're calling it the logistics district. And of course, what we also have very, proud to have the name is the Mohammed bin Rashid Aerospace Hub, where it's very much focused on the aviation sector. With that, Danny reiterated sort of the expo is part of the Dubai South sort of greater community, and then we also got a number of residential areas that are related to the period. So the concept was to create a sort of a working and living environment in there, and beyond there, sort of towards the top of that is, of course, that's where we get the connectivity to the Jebel Ali seaport. And for the people who have been or planning on going, sort of hopefully next year when we have the air show, which shows one of the best gathering between the trading communities between UAE and the US, is where we host that air show, which is both from a commercial and our sort of military gathering that happens every 2 years. Next, please. When we looked at the supply chain and the logistics many years ago, and we wanted to educate, because Dubai was part of sort of this, we all were part of EMEA, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And then when we started the logistics district, we decided, okay, what could we do to change that attitude? Because the focus when you look at EMEA was mainly with Europe and the lesser. And we interviewed a lot of supply chain chiefs who are responsible for the EMEA, and we tried to find out what are the sectors. And then this is sort of the sectors where we realized that Dubai could play a role, excluding the Europe, and looking at the sort of Middle East, North Africa, and Southeast Asia. And we looked at the sectors. So we looked at sort of fashion, life science. I think the folks here, sort of Danny and the team, successfully arranged one on the healthcare. Of course, perishable. We also had, I think, something about perishable and sort of growing vertical farming earlier when we were meeting physically in Dubai. IT and telecom, e-commerce will play a big role, which I will come later on. And of course, when I'm talking about the spare parts, these are critical spare parts for oil and gas, spare parts for aviation sectors, and of course, we also have the sort of the heavy when it comes to automotive. They were the sort of the 6 sectors that made sort of position any company that wants to serve this region, and to the extent that even some of the CIS countries of like Azerbaijan, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan also are now looking at Dubai to sort of supplying, becoming sort of a hub for that particular region. Next, please. When we did this, and I think this is a sort of something that we managed to execute, but it was a vision set very early stages by our leadership. The late Sheikh Rashid of Dubai, God bless his soul, sort of when he started the sort of Jebel Ali port, they also sort of, that was in the late 70s, and then they started successfully the Jebel Ali Free Zone in 1985. There was always that vision to create an airport. And when we came in 2006, we sort of, that vision with the leadership of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed, and then it was expanded to what we have today as Dubai South, and it was connected to what is known as sort of Dubai Logistics Corridor. It created a huge sort of industrial environment of about 200 square kilometers. It connected one of the largest seaports, or one of the key global seaports to a sort of a future developed airport that's going to be one of the largest ones. And removed all the sort of the barriers to connect from the ship rail all the way to an aircraft in sort of 4 hours, something that would take probably in a normal time, it would have taken a couple of days. And that just shows that how Dubai was very proactive in ensuring this. This was done in 2010. It's not something new. I think my colleague from Emirates will be sharing something quite unique when we also developed a similar setup when we connected the two airports from a cargo perspective that won many awards globally for the success stories of that. Next, please. I think I think the word here, why Dubai South, but I think the question is why Dubai? Dubai has that great land connectivity to the GCC countries. It's got a great sea connectivities with all the sort of, I will not steal the show from Corey Justin. He will be talking about the sea, but that connectivity with all the major shipping lines calling it, and of course the airport. Two airports, one was passenger and cargo, and one is pure, has been sort of, during the pandemic, became a pure cargo, and it showed, because that infrastructure, we had a lot more freighters coming in and becoming a sort of a hub for many of the countries to get their PPEs, to get all the medical equipment that was result, and we in fact we saw a sort of a growth in the freighter during the pandemic. But collectively, between all this sort of the infrastructure, and on top of that, when you look at legislations and sort of common law that are there under the DIFC's court, it enabled trade. It brought the whole sort of glued between the great physical infrastructure with the soft infrastructures like the DIFC cores, like the Dubai customs procedures, that sort of brought in dual solution that was very earlier showed by Danny of creating a dual warehouse system, and of course, about the flexibility of setting up the business, the licensing, that together it cemented the position or sort of what Dubai offered when it came to the logistics. Next, please. You might say, I was introduced as Dubai South, but I think one area I wanted to cover was a problem. We took the American, we're calling it Easy Dubai, and it's not EZ. So this is an American word, which is an Easy Dubai is an e-commerce zone. We do, and this is the concept was okay. We've done we have the logistics, we've got the great infrastructure. How do we take it up to sort of the e-commerce zone in the next, please? And when we established this, UAE as a region is very much internet penetration is one of the highest globally. The number of hours that people spend on internet is quite high, and of course the people are very much connected, whether with their smartphones or sort of social media, and that position that Dubai's internet or sort of e-commerce was one of the highest, 4.2%. It's still low compared to the global, but considered it one of the highest when you had a sort of a regional average below 2%. Next, please. What was important that during the pandemic, we saw some sort of, I would say, numbers that was unimaginable. We had a growth in UAE, more than 50%. The Middle East had an e-commerce growth of 106%. And this is sort of, even when you come to the transactions, we had a huge number of transactions. It's a region that people are still want to be in that sort of bricks and mortar, the physical touch. But during the pandemic, because that infrastructure was great, it changed. I mean, surprisingly, at one particular moment, we had 65% of the retailers were e-commerce as opposed to sort of bricks and mortars. Okay, we're not going to see that figure now that things are easing off, and thanks to sort of the great success sort of the government had in controlling the COVID-19, but it showed how well the city was equipped. The second one was we brought in a lot of increase of the payment. We are moving toward a smart government. We're moving toward creating a digital economy. A lot of transactions that people were reluctant in doing it before by credit cards, we had an increase on there. So less cash on delivery, which was always a challenge when it came to the logistics operators. Today, people have been educated, people are more used to it, and they have realized the comfort of it. Next, please. And when we looked at this during the pandemic, obviously it was for the basic necessities. We had the supermarkets, the food, the pharmaceuticals, electronics, computer, and this not only across in UAE, but I think in the region. So my sort of, if you are a U.S. company that is in any part of these businesses or anything that I spoke about earlier in the six sectors, I think it's a good time to look beyond the U.S. market and see how you can explore the market in sort of penetrating in the Middle East sector. Next, please. When we looked at this, we had to look at sort of an area where we had a very cost efficient, it was purpose built, multimodal, and of course sustainability, and of course a sort of a very streamlined customs and licensing process. So what Easy Dubai was successfully launched January last year by His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid, who's the ruler of Dubai and our Prime Minister of UAE. And in September last year also, Dubai launched an e-commerce strategy to ease off the business for e-commerce, the people who are coming in. And of course, e-commerce, yes, there is the technology, but logistics plays a major role. And I think the only reason we're managing to do a lot of this is sort of the possibility that the logistics environment that we have created. Next, please. The zone is adjacent. I think we talked about the airport, where we see the word, the house. That's where the Emirates Sky Cargo, that my colleague from Emirates will be talking about later, where you see the word Easy Dubai, the smaller one closer to the map. That's where all other airlines operate. There is, but it's a zone that we just recently created that brings in a number of components into there. Next, please. It's brought in sort of the large e-fulfillment center that many of you might have seen, like the Amazons, or what we have a local version of noon.com. It also has we brought in the last mile players with e-commerce. Return and repair was a very important bit, and the business block is an environment that we are creating for small SMEs to start up the business, to come into the domain, because that's also quite a large number of people who are either on the Instagram or the Facebook that we are catering to. And we also looked at right now to develop data centers because of the digital economy. There's a huge focus on the data, which we are looking to be part of this. Next, please. As the video Danny shared earlier, which we showed the video of our executive chairman, Executive Khalifa Zafin, with DB Shankar, we said, let's change the game when it came to the free zone. Let's see how we can bring a bonded and non-bonded under one roof, which we have successfully done with DB Shankar, sort of the German operators, with Unilever, and they came under one roof, where they had a free zone facility, but accessibility from non-bonded and from the bonded area. And it has brought a success, very successful, that you brought the operation very efficiently, bringing both these parties. And I think soon we're going to be announcing some more key developments that people are coming into this line. We also had a very success with DHL, who have moved in and benefiting from this. And hopefully soon we will probably talking about the other integrators who will be joining to take the benefit of this sort of new setup that has been set up in Dubai very recently. Next, please. This is just to show a list of companies that are operational at the moment, between local players, a mixture who have taken home. Of course, Amazon, many of us have relied on during this pandemic to ensure that we had the essentials delivered. Similarly, Noon here in this part of the world, it was another success story that's coming up. We were very, I think one out of all the brands that you buy, there's one particular one maybe you're not familiar with, is a company called First Cry right there in the middle of the screen. That's an Indian company that was purely e-commerce player that decided for the first time to move out of India to come, and they chose Dubai as a hub to serve Middle East and North Africa. and this just shows the sort of the Dubai. And today they're very successful. They're supplying the entire Middle East out of their company here, and soon they're moving into through Kenya to serve the African market as we speak, which shows sort of one of the success stories. With that, I wanted to thank everybody. I'll be around to ask any questions, and I'm sure I'm leaving some room for the rest of my colleagues who will be covering in a much more detail some of the operational, like the seaport and the airport that we will have. Thank you very much, and I look forward to receiving your questions.
Mohsen, thank you so much. I have to tell you, having come out to visit you many times at Dubai South, I'm always so impressed with what you're doing there, what the organization is doing. And I'm equally impressed with our next speaker and what he's doing, Faisal Jassim, who's the manager of the Americas region for Jebel Ali Free Zone, or DAFSA. And Faisal is in charge of proactive sales in JAFSA and works to attract, maintain, and enhance industrial FDI and corporate relationships with multinational companies. JAFSA, which is one of the flagship free zones of DP World, has leveraged its proximity to Jebel Ali Port, the busiest harbor in the Middle East, to become home to thousands of businesses from over 100 countries, with thousands of companies, sustaining more than 135,000 jobs and contributing to 23.8% of Dubai's GDP, facilitating over $98 billion in annual trade. Faisal, always a pleasure to see you. Always a pleasure to come out to your facility as well and visit. And post-COVID, you and Mohsen are going to be each one of my first stops on my trips down the road. So please, over to you.
Thank you so much, Danny and Mohsen. Honestly, I mean, you guys as the organizers, putting Mohsen first and then me is fantastic because we just. It's symbiotic, so we just complete each other, and it just goes to show as well the synergies that we have between our two free zones. I also want to thank Mohsen for doing a lot of the heavy lifting and providing a lot of the information, so I don't have to go over it. So can we go to the next slide, please? And the slide after that. Perfect. So I'm going to give you a brief breakdown or a brief presentation about JAFSA and DP World, Dubai Ports World. So DP World is in approximately 40 countries with more than 78 ports and terminals around the world. We are the fourth largest port operator. The Jebel Ali port that's located in JAFSA and in Dubai is the 10th largest port in the world and the only one in the top 10 that is not in the Far East. So it's really a mark of achievement for us to be on that list and something that we're very proud of. Fun fact. It is actually the busiest port of call for the U.S. Navy outside of the United States. So that's something that is very interesting as well. Now again, as a port and as a free zone, we really want to, we consider ourselves global trade enablers. So this is where we try to bring the whole mosaic of trade enablement services and to link the ports that we have all across the world. You can see the little yellow dots all across the screen, all around the world, and something we're working very hard to. And to provide really end-to-end solutions for our clients, which I'm going to explain later in later slides. So next, please. All right. So as was mentioned earlier by Saad Al-Awadi from Dubai Export, we are linked to more than almost 3 billion people around the world. Another fun fact, it takes a shorter amount of time to fly from Dubai to Mumbai, which is the commercial and economic hub of India, than it does from Mumbai to New Delhi, which is the political, political capital of India. So again, the relationships that we have with the regional countries are very deep and go back a very long way. For example, 90% of Iraq cargo, for example, comes to the Jebel Ali port. As DP World, we handle approximately 25% of India's trade. So we manage a bunch of ports and facilities over there, which I'll explain later on as well. And we can reach anywhere in the GCC within one day. So again, we have a lot of clients that use Dubai as a springboard for the rest of the region, specifically, for example, Saudi. So I'm working on a lot of clients now that are also dealing, for example, in hydrocarbons. They want a facility in JAFSA to service Saudi Arabia, which is kind of counterintuitive, considering that Saudi Arabia is the hydrocarbon capital of the world. But again, No offense to our people in Houston, one of the hydrocarbon capitals of the world. So again, to consider that they're trying to service Saudi Arabia out of Dubai, again, it's because of the investment that we did in infrastructure, as Mohsen mentioned, both hard infrastructure in terms of the ports and the roads, etc., but also soft infrastructure in terms of the technology, in terms of the rules and regulations. This is why our customs procedure, for example, takes approximately an hour to clear, and other regional countries might take a week, in certain instances, up to 3 months to clear. Next slide, please. All right, so when we talk about JAFTA, we have to talk about it in terms of its whole infrastructure. So in terms of the Jebel Ali port, so the Jebel Ali port has a cargo capacity of 23 million containers, and we as well. So that's obviously we were centered around. We were established in 1985 to support the port, is to bring as much container traffic and as much port traffic as possible, and that is still our mission now. So Dubai has 24 free zones, each catering to a different industry. Ours caters to industries that do manufacturing, logistics, and trades. So anything that moves the port is something that we're interested in. Logistics obviously is a backbone for us. So as was mentioned, we have we have multiple free zones and multiple as well trading partners that we have in our port. Last year we did approximately $100 billion of trade from our Jebel Ali port, so it's something that's very sizable. And we have as well the logistical infrastructure. So time and time again, I'm in discussions currently, being in obviously in sales, discussions with many multinational, many large companies, and you guys know for sure, especially you guys in logistical background, that the largest cost for a company is logistics. If they can get logistics down, if they can really get it under control, run it efficiently, then their business thrives. That was especially the case under the COVID situation, where you knew where people ran a very tight ship and a great operation because they survived and in fact thrived. And those that didn't invest or didn't think about it in terms of logistics, they kind of fell to the wayside. We've seen it as well, regionally. So companies that went to other free zones or companies that went to other, for example, locations to establish their business just to save a few, pennies here and there, really, in the grand scheme of things, ended up paying for it because when everything was locked down, they didn't have access to the digital platform to conduct their business. They didn't have access to a very developed logistical solution, and we've seen that. I mean, even if you go onto news articles, and I think His Excellency, our Consul General in Houston, can attest to that. Dubai and the UAE in general were providing aid shipments in terms of PPEs, in terms of food aid, in terms of any sort of aid during the COVID pandemic to regional countries. And when I'm talking about regional countries, not just the UAE or not just the GCC and the Middle East, I'm talking about CIS, I'm talking about Africa, India, etc. So it's something that we're very proud of, and the reason we could do that is because of the infrastructure that we have. So next slide, please. All right, so I think Mohsen touched up on this. So the upside down F, as you see, the monkey wrench there is the Jebel Ali port. To the south, you'll have the Al Maktoum International Airport, where Mohsen is located. That little snake on the side that you see, looks like snakes and ladders, that's the rail terminal that is under construction, with the main station being in the Jebel Ali port as well. And then you have two major highways as well linked. And that little black zigzag that you have there is the logistical corridor, which Mohsen was an integral part in setting it up. So again, you have access to the airport, you have access to the seaport, we have access hopefully soon to the rail port, and access to two major land ports, which is through highways, all within a custom bounded area. Again, being in logistics, that must be music to your ears because you can literally get any sort of good in and out within 30 minutes. From port to airport, it takes 30 minutes. I did it in 20, but again, you don't hold me to those standards. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we talk about Jebel Ali, we have to talk about in terms of what we can offer. So we have a one-stop shop model where all relevant government departments and ministries are located within our free zone and are also located online. So almost 99% of the services can be done online. This was especially relevant during the COVID situation where I myself and the team registered so many companies online. It would have been great to meet the client and shake their hands when we give them the trade license, but we didn't have to do that during the COVID situation. They register their companies remotely. You can clear your customs, you can renew your trade license, you can renew your visas, pay your utility bills, etc., whatever it is online. In this world, in this very dynamic and very fluid world that we live in, this is very important. So it's ironic, but a lot of clients come to JAFSA and because they don't have to physically be in Jafza or Dubai to run their business. We have a variety of facilities. So we lease out offices, we lease out warehouses, we lease out plots of land, and we also have customized development solutions. So this is for larger clients. So we've done that. So when a client has like 70,000 square feet of a facility that they need built and above, what we can do is we can build it for them and lease it out to them over a long period of time. Again, this is fantastic because you don't need to go to your board of directors and fight tooth and nail for a large capital expenditure. It's just a nominal operating expenditure over the years. We've done that for General Electric. So when you come to Dubai and you drive down to go to Abu Dhabi, you see it, the General Electric building. We've done that for Seva, we've done that for UPS, and we're doing that for others as well. Next slide, please. Perfect. Slide after. All right, so just a snapshot of logistics in Jafza. So we have more than 390 logistical companies in Jafza. As you can see, some of the the well-known names are down there as well. It's really a backbone for us in Jafza. And when I say that, it's not a marketing spiel or it's not something cliche to say. It's very important. So when a client comes to me today, and I continue to do that to clients and talk to them about it. When they come to us, we tell them, listen, instead of investing heavily on day one with a warehouse operations, with a fleet of vehicles, with an army of staff, etc., just to manage your logistics, I suggest you come in, on a manageable scale. Whether you go with a small office, a small warehouse, etc., and outsource your logistics to, a third-party provider. We have more than 390 companies that would love to handle your logistics. So this is where you guys can come in and really provide your logistical solutions to the client. Next slide, please. All right. So in terms of our port and terminal, again, it's honestly, we've designed it and we've really planned it with the logistical industry in mind. We wanted to make sure to capture as much of the logistical landscape and infrastructure as we can. So our port is multifunctional. Our terminals, we can welcome all sorts of goods in terms of containerized goods and even, the dangerous and non-dangerous goods. Containerized goods, Ro-Ro, Lo-Lo, break bulk, even WOWO, walk on, walk off. So we have a lot of, for example, animals coming in now. So you guys in Texas, if you have, your prized cattle you want to send across, we'll be happy to welcome them. And we're connected to more than 150 destinations around the world. So again, you guys obviously in logistics know that having, for example, an airport that's connected to so many destinations is important for your business. Same thing goes for ports. So, I think we were giving the example earlier of Africa or India, for example. Let's just give the example of East Africa. So let's say you're dealing in East Africa and you have, a bottle of water or a shipment of water that you need to send over there. You go to other regional ports, they might do one shipment a week, once every 2 weeks. For us, it's more than one a day. The reason is because of the frequency of service that we have and the critical mass of traders, of infrastructure, of ports of call, etc., that we've built. It took us 40 years to build the infrastructure that we have in order to to really connect the world. Next slide, please. Right, perfect. So the Jebel Ali port, again, as I mentioned, we're connected to more than 150 destinations around the world. Last year we handled 14 million containers. We have as well the Al Maktoum International Airport, which Muhsin touched on. We're connected to land, as I mentioned earlier, so we can reach anywhere in the GCC within one day. And the digital infrastructure, the backbone, which I think Muhsin and my other colleagues mentioned and touched upon, is very, very, very important. I mean, I know I know it's a cliche thing to say that we invest in infrastructure and all that, but honestly, during this time of COVID and during this changing world, that has honestly reaped so much benefits and so many dividends. In this time and place. Again, clients come in, they can clear their customs, they can clear the goods all online, they can do everything online. Even for clients that, are restricted from traveling or whatever it is, everything can be done online. So you wouldn't have the first three, quadrants without having the fourth. They all complement each other. Next slide, please. Okay, we have our own logistical entity, a sister logistical entity established in 2018 called Smart Solution Logistics. Now, don't worry, Smart Solution Logistics is not meant to be a competitor to the logistical industry. It is actually meant to be a complementer. So we have a lot of logistical companies, for example, that might have taken a big order on and they don't have the capacity to meet it, or might not have a specific service that they want to offer to a client, but in order for them to get, the big deal, they would have to offer so many different services. So this is where Smart Solution Logistics comes in and, helps and facilitates, logistical flow to Dubai and to the Jebel Ali port specifically. And they have the whole mess or the whole range of logistical solutions that can offer them. So, they've been great in establishing and helping clients come in. But again, in terms of a free zone and in terms of a port, we're very agnostic in terms of which logistical provider you go to. In fact, I've introduced, companies to other logistical providers, and we're happy to do that. As long as you're in Dubai, as long as you're in the UAE and you use our ports, then we're winners at the end of the day. Next slide, please. All right, so as I was mentioning, there are our soft infrastructure Dubai Trade, which is another sister entity. So almost 99% of the services can be done online. And not just, renewal of trade licenses and visas, for example, renewal, etc., but also in terms of insurance, in terms of customs brokerage, in terms of, even nominating hauliers for your cargo to and from the port to your destination, etc. All that can be done online. So we've made really massive investments in that, in our digital infrastructure, and that is something that has really, reaped benefits now. Next slide, please. The slide after that. So just to give you a snapshot of the trade volumes that we have between JAFSA and the USA and JAFSA and the UAE specifically. So I believe the trade volumes I think were approximately $25 billion. And you could see the major industries, the major imports and major exports that we have in JAFSA. Again, the USA is our third top importer and our seventh top exporter in the free zone in the port. Next slide, please. And it's been increasing over the years, so something that we're very happy and we're very proud of. We have almost 400 U.S. companies in JAFSA that employ almost 14,000 people. And, our trade flows have been fantastic. So almost, a fifth of the U.S. UAE trade flows has been coming and has been attributed to our port and our free zone. So this is something that, we're very proud of, and we hope to increase as well in the future. Next slide, please. All right, so this is a very interesting project. So DP World has been undergoing or has been conducting and putting forth projects, bridge projects that we have. So our first bridge project was Project India Bridge. So as I mentioned earlier, DP World is a heavy investor in India. In fact, DP World until very, very recently was the largest FDI investor in India. We were overtaken by Saudi Aramco. But again, we're the second largest FDI investor in India. We manage 6 ports in India. We have 13 inland facilities, and we have 2 logistical companies and growing. So we manage 25%, or we handle 25% of India's trade. It's something we're very proud of. Now, India is a fantastic country. It has a lot of potential. It's a growing population. It's a democratic country as well. So again, all these factors factor in terms of it being a powerhouse, an economic powerhouse. However, the issue with India, what we tend to find with a lot of clients is that the infrastructure or the logistical infrastructure is not developed. So this is where we come in with our value proposition to say, you know what, maybe we can change that, and we can, we can really assist the clients. So the bridge project is where we bridge the UAE and India and the UAE, vice versa. So we can literally get your cargo, your box from your factory in JAFSA to the end user's door in India and vice versa. So think about it in terms of supply chain and thinking about it in terms of distribution. So it's been a fantastic project that we've been conducting. We have an on-site, on-the-ground, massive team in India. So if you guys need any introductions to that, we'll be happy to do that. This project as well is our first project in terms of a bridge project, but we're also working on other bridge projects to Africa, to Latin America, and others as well. So this is where we, the first slide that I showed you, the mosaic with the little yellow dots, that's where we're really trying to bring it together, and we're really trying to, connect the dots in terms of trade. Call it, the UAE or Dubai's own version of its Silk Road. Next slide, please. And with that, I conclude my presentation. We'll be happy to take any questions at the end of the session. And thank you all for joining.
Thank you so much, Faisal. Very, very much appreciated. Very, very comprehensive brief. I'm sure the observers and the attendees will appreciate getting all of that online later. Now, I'd like to very much, it gives me great pleasure to welcome Jamal bin Margoub, who's the Senior Director, Sales Division of Dubai Airport Free Zone. Jamal oversees the development of business plans, sales strategies, and planning for Dubai Airport's Free Zone. Dubai Airport's Free Zone offers a gateway to the Middle East and Africa and Asia that is unrivaled in connectivity to Europe, the subcontinent, and the Far East. Its 1,600 registered companies and 15,000 professionals benefit from direct access to Dubai International Airport, the world's busiest international airport. Before Jamal begins his presentation, we'll show a very short video. Please, Jamal, or please, David, start the video. Wait, this says DAPSA. Is that, yes, that's right. That's correct.
We shape and measure it because time shifts. It races. It
Jamal, thank you very, very much for that video. Can I ask you to make your comments, please? And we're coming up to the top of the hour, so I'm going to ask you and everyone else to just be as short as possible. Please, thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Your Excellency, Dubai team, good morning and good evening, everybody. At the beginning, I would like to thank Dubai team for giving us the chance to be part of this webinar. And I would like to thank Muhsin and Faisal for highlighting a lot of information about Dubai and being the business hub of the Middle East. There is no doubt about it that Dubai is the right place when you want to set up a business in the Middle East. Not just Dubai, I would say the whole UAE. My focus will be now more of a DAVZA and how you can set up a business and what DAVZA can help you to do to grow from Dubai to the MENA region, I would say. The strategy that we have in DAVZA is basically your growth is our success. So having said that, DAVZA will spend a lot of times not thinking how to set up a business, more thinking how to make you grow the business. And that's how we will reverse the formula in Dubai Airport Free Zone. Because being Dubai, being in UAE, yes, you can set up a business anywhere, whether it's on and offshore or onshore. The fact that Dubai UAE rules that says if you set up a company in the mainland, you have to have a local sponsor. That's why the benefit of the free zone comes in hand and that you own the business 100%. DAVZA have taken that advantage from the government and we reversed the formula. We said many people can set up a business in UAE and Dubai, but how can we make them grow? And that's the logo of the Dubai DAVZA, and the slogan says free to grow. We will take you from the day you establish your business in DAVZA and will introduce you to the government entities in Dubai. I would say such as FDI, Dubai FDI. I would say that such as Dubai Exports. I would say such as Dubai Chamber. Those government has been created to help you guys to set up your business and grow from in the MENA region. We will start by growing up in the GCC countries, and then we will take you to the Middle East, and then to Africa. The plan is set up in DAVZA. So basically, we focus on your growth. We focus on the companies being in DAVZA and going from DAVZA, from UAE to the Middle East. Next slide, please. Being, I would say, next to the airport, yes, it's an advantage, but again, it's not that many people will utilize it. But it will give you a great advantage if you are coming to the region and you will be a heavy traveler, going to the GCC countries, going to the Middle East countries, going to Africa to expand your business from Dubai itself. Next slide, please. Like my other colleagues mentioned, and again, all the free zone has the same law that came up to establish their businesses. DAVZA will help you in getting your work permit in Dubai, and also will do the medical check. That's part of requirement. We have it in-house. We have a custom offices in Dubai. So the Dubai Chamber, Dubai Police, Dubai Health Authority they have a premises in DAVZA. And then we have all the administrative offices and services there, such as the housekeeping and other maintenance of the buildings. And then we do have the telecommunications and the banking system in DAVZA also, which most of the banks have opened their branches, such as Emirates MBD and Mashreq Bank, so some of the names, and the post office for your operations, and like I said, telecommunication companies. Next slide, please. Now, just to give you a general view of DAVZA and what kind of industry that DAVZA hosts, I would say 28% of ICT and electronics, 10% consumer products, and 8% freight and logistics, 9% investment, businesses, development, and engineering, building materials, 70% comes under the F&B, and 5% comes under medical equipment and pharmaceutical, which company have taken DAVZA to place to do their business. Next slide, please. Now, just to give you a taste of what kind of company do set up in DAVZA. Yes, we see the slide that has an aerospace aviation companies. Yes, we do see a slide that have automobiles, pharmaceutical, and they are all big names. But I will not mention the SME companies who entrepreneur who came from different parts of the world and have established the businesses, who had the great successful stories in UAE, I would say. So looking at this big top multinational companies does not mean you as a SME company cannot come to Dubai and establish business. Yes, you have the right and you have the infrastructure to start your business in UAE and in Dubai. And Davza, like I said, we focus to connect you with businesses. And that's where we come in the picture of Davza, where we will connect you to. We do a lot of focus industry networking events. Before pandemic, I would say. Now it's a bit difficult, but we will do a focus industry networking events. We'll connect you to the buyer in the same industry. We will do a connection to the suppliers. Within the Davza community, which we have 1,600 companies, we will choose those companies in the same industry and connect them to each other so they can do business together. We will connect you with different industry in the ecosystem that you can do business from them. So having these multinational companies and some of them SME, we mix them together and we make them to do business together. So that's kind of focus what we have in Davza. Next, please. Yes, you can establish an office in Davza and with a license. The trading license, you can have a trading license. You can have a service license. You can have an e-commerce license. We have a project called Dubai Commerce City, which you can do a business there. You can have an industrial license with a warehouse. You can have a general trading license and start your business. Next slide, please. Now, when it comes to setting a business, an operation, you require a license and you require an office, a premises. We do have a different solution for our clients. Customized office, a solution which is equipped with office and table, chairs, for ceiling, everything. So basically, you just come and plug in your computer and start working. We do have a packages which is called Premium Package Office or Premium Plus. Again, it's an office ready with the furniture, or a business desk. If you're doubting that might not have your operation running and you're coming to explore the market, yes, we have a desk which is a one-person operation that you can have place that you work from it, and then you establish your business in the region. And we have a light industry unit for company who have connectivities. You have agents, a distributor, but you want to have your logistic products set up in Davza and cut the time of the shipment from the region itself. Next slide, please. During the pandemic, Davza and other government bodies have taken the steps to look at how can we help other companies. His Highness Sheikh Ahmed bin Said, who is the chairman of Emirates Airline and the chairman of Dubai Airport Free Zones, have instructed us to come up with a lot of incentives. And maybe you can see in the bottom that exempt retailer from the lease payment up to 3 months. We have done that. We postponed lease payment for the up to 3 months, facilitating the financial payment into easier monthly installment. We have done for the companies, canceling companies' fine if there was, refunding security deposit on lease space, and refunding labor guarantees to companies. So another money. This is just a sample what I'm trying to mention here. But a lot of incentive have given to a lot of companies to reboost their business and grow again in this part of the regions. Next, please. When it comes to registration or saving more, we have given a lot of discounts. And if you've taken let's say, smart desk, you will be saving 50% as we speak. And if you decided to move to a light industry unit, a warehouse, you will be saving 30%. And if you decided to go one of the packages of offices, you'll be saving 20% of that rent. And there are a lot of flexible payment options there. All of this, next please. As you can see, all of this are as incentives to let businesses to continue their growth in the region. What I mentioned, like I said in the beginning, Davza will focus on your growth. Your growth is our success. Setting up a business in UAE and in Dubai, it is great. You can set up a business anywhere, but again, you need a partner. What I will say, you need a partner that will take your hand, connect you to a businesses that, because you're coming from overseas, you would like to have a lot of government bodies connectivity in UAE with the Ministry of Economy, with Dubai FDI, with Export, Dubai Chamber. You need to know who you contact in the custom. Davza will help you to grow your business. Again, with the networking events that we do with different countries here, that will help you connect with other countries other businessmen that you can do a business with. At the end, I would like to thank everybody who's given me a chance to speak. And thank you, Danny. Thank you, everybody.
Oh, as always, thank you so much, Jamal. Great presentation. We really appreciate it. Al Hinton, who's advisor to Dubai FDI and the Dubai Advantage, joined Dubai FDI in 2014 after spending 12 years as the area director for the Middle East North Africa region of the Ministry of Economic Development and Trade, Government, Ontario, Canada. He had the responsibility there of 21 countries promoting trade and investment on behalf of the government. So he is a great expert on the region, a great expert on Dubai. I'm proud to call Al a close friend and longtime partner on many trade missions to the United States, UAE. Al, over to you, please.
Well, thank you very much, Danny, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Dubai Advantage program. I am going to go through my slides very quickly, and I'm going to allow some time here for my colleagues from Emirates Airlines Sky Cargo to say a few words after I'm finished. So just very quickly, David, please move to the next slide. And the next. So what we try and do is we call Dubai the hub, the city, and a global destination. And as you can quickly see from the slides that are up, the GDP contribution for various sectors that we have within in the Dubai ecosystem. In 2019, the logistics represented 14% of the overall GDP. So you can see it's a very important sector. 5.7% of compound annual growth rate on the industry for 2020 is what's expected. Next slide, please. Visitor growth. We're looking at a considerable amount of visitors coming in here, and as you can see, the graph does continue to climb. 2020 has been a bit of an exception, and we probably won't quite see as many coming through, but the airport is now open, and we're receiving visitors. Next. Next. You can go to the next slide. That $2.4 billion has already been spoken about as far as where Dubai is located. Tons of freight through Dubai DXB and DWTC, or DWC, 3.4 million tons, 140 airlines, and when everybody is running full flat out, about 8,000 flights per week. Next. Next. So one of the key things on this page is that Expo 2020, due to COVID, has been delayed somewhat and will commence on October the 1st, 2021 through to March 31st, 2022. First time in the region, and with a theme of connecting minds and creating the future. Next slide, please. And in the infrastructure sector, we have invested very heavily in roads, metro, a variety of public transport, and we've become a very attractive a city location for investment in that sector. Next slide, please. I can also tell you that many years ago, when I first started coming to Dubai, trying to find a taxi here was almost impossible. There was no metro, and here we are today. We're moving along quite nicely. These are some of the stats as far as people using the public transit system. Next slide, please. So one of the big focuses within Dubai is to have educated, healthy, innovative, and happy individuals. And we do have a minister of happiness here as well. So the government is making sure that everyone that is here, residents and nationals, have a secure and cultural and entertaining place to live. It's a very much of a pro-business environment. It's very proactive. It's transparent. It's reliable. We're using smart systems all over. It's a great environment. If you haven't been here, please do come and visit Dubai and experience it yourself. Next slide. Next. Smart city is a very interesting area. You know, as part of the smart city, the world ranking for best cities in 2019 showed Dubai as number 6, and it's number 1 in the world's safest cities and one of the most desirable in the MENA region. To help with this, of course, smart government. We've launched 100 initiatives in 2014, and 100% of all government transactions today are paper-free. Next. Blockchain strategy, very a big area for us. 100 million documents have been processed, and it's the number 1 city in the world that is fully powered by blockchain. Next slide, please. Information technology, for those that are engaged in that area, we have a very high penetration rate in mobile and ICT, and obviously have an open data law here as well. And privacy is very much in vogue here, as it is in North America and in Europe. So if you're looking at coming into the region, Dubai is a great spot to be in from a privacy issue. Next. Artificial intelligence, a growing area. This is a lot of companies that are here in the logistics area. Somebody had mentioned, one of the previous speakers had mentioned agriculture. Artificial intelligence is certainly a big area and a growing sector. You see 37 billion in the financial sector alone for AI. Great area. Next slide, please. Science, technology, and innovation. Well, one of the things that we're very proud of is that we are one of 3 countries right now that is launching to Mars. Our launch occurred just earlier in the week, and we're very, very proud to see that we have a probe going up that will gather information and will be shared with the world on a free basis. A very quick a snapshot of that sector. Next slide, please. Retail, well, 59 new global brands were attracted here in 2017. I understand there are several other brands that are in the flows at the moment looking to come to Dubai. It's number 1 ranked as the most important international shopping destination globally. Next slide, please. Manufacturing is a big area. It's one of our growth sectors. It's a pivotal sector for Dubai and the Dubai plan. You can see 19.04 billion of bank credit to the UAE's industrial sector. We're targeting a global platform for knowledge-based and sustainable industries. The central bank sent out monies earlier this year during COVID to all the registered banks to help with moving companies to the next level so that they can continue to survive and move forward. Next slide. When we talked about manufacturing, some of the areas that we are looking at that are very key to us: aerospace, maritime, pharmaceutical and medical, aluminum and fabricated metals, fast-moving consumable goods, machinery, and equipment. So those are the key sectors that we're focusing on. Next slide. Dubai's industrial strategy, the 6 sectors I just mentioned a moment ago, provide the growth engine, home for global business, and being environmentally stable. Next slide, please. So you can see GDP on manufacturing continues to rise at about a 9.2% average. Next slide. Next slide. Healthcare, it dominates the environment here quite nicely with a number of P3 projects on the go. Medical devices, pharmaceutical manufacturing here, and a lot of R&D is starting to come into the Dubai ecosystem as well. Next slide, please. Medical tourism is a big area for us, projecting 500,000 patients this year. Next slide. Dubai medical tourism strategy, and again, as I mentioned a moment ago, very much of a growth strategy. Its vision is to position Dubai a globally recognized destination for elective health and wellness treatments. And I can say that the docs here are excellent. Next slide, please. And that's it as a quick snapshot of Dubai. I will also just quickly mention from a geopolitical stability, it has steady GDP growth amid regional and global economic challenges. Inflation remains under control. The dollar, very importantly, is pegged currency to the dirham. It's a well-diversified economy. We have a very happy 200 nationals that live here, committed to happiness. We have bilateral ties with more than 100 nations, and we're ranked number 11 in global readiness. So when you add all that up with our logistics and some of the other sectors that I quickly mentioned, Dubai offers a wonderful place to work, play, and live. Danny, over to you.
Thank you, Al. Jens Engelbrechtsen, Freighter Commercial Manager Americas for Emirates Sky Cargo. Jens is based in Chicago, the largest freighter station for Emirates on the west side of the globe. His role is to ensure the commercial health of the Emirates freighter platform into the Americas. With a fleet of 270 wide-bodied aircraft, including 13 dedicated freighters, Emirates Sky Cargo is the largest international cargo airline that connects over 155 destinations across over 85 countries and 6 continents. Jens, we're really short on time. Can you do it in a minute for me, please, sir?
I will try. So I would think that there's a lot of facts and figures in there. Thank you, Danny, for the intro. A lot of facts and figures that everyone can check later at their leisure. I just want to stress, a few slides here, maybe 8 at the tops, to try to keep it in that 5 minutes and breeze through it. So, David, if we can go to slide 92. Okay, so next slide. Right here, this just wanted to highlight that our number of aircraft, Danny mentioned the number. We have 11 freighters plus 2 wet lease freighters that we use, but the important factor here to indicate is it's a very modern fleet and all wide body, very important for the network. Next slide to 95. Okay, this was our pre-COVID network now. So, of course, many dynamics have changed as countries have closed or passenger flights have been reduced. We're on our way back now. However, this was the pre-COVID, so very important to know that all those destinations with the wide-body aircraft are available. So we don't have, this is a true network where we have, smaller prop airplanes where you can't really get any of your cargo on there. So these are all skid-ready destinations. Next slide. On the hub, incredible strengths where we have round-the-clock departures. We don't have any night flight ban issues, so we don't have to wait 24 hours for the next flight the next day. The next flight could be 6 hours later, which could be 2 in the morning. So this really has an advantage as far as our transit times into the destination. So next slide. This is just a little bit of the hub that we have where we're connecting Dubai with DWC. I know the other presenters mentioned the incredible amount of infrastructure that's been invested in both these airports, especially in now DWC, and we're migrating there, operating all our freighters out of DWC. and connecting to our passenger planes in Dubai. So we're also matching that infrastructure as far as ground handling for all special products. Next slide. Next slide. These are the figures you can check out later. Next slide. Just real quick on our pharmaceuticals. There's an incredible amount, massive amounts of pharmaceuticals that we're moving in and out of the United States, connecting much of India with generics and a lot with temperature control out of the U.S. So we're all GDP certified at both hubs in Dubai and DWC, as well as many stations outside of Dubai, including Chicago. Next slide. This is a little bit on the connecting of the hubs where we talked about DWC and Dubai. We can connect optimally and bookable within 5 hours. So flight arrival in DWC, offloaded, trucked, and takes off again out of Dubai in up to 5 hours, less than 5 hours in some cases. Next slide. That's some of the same thing, more looking at it from a map. Next slide. Next slide. We can look at that at your leisure. Next. We don't have to go into all the figures. Next. Next. These are just some of the highlights of the regions that we're going to. United States, here's our connections. We also move freighters out of Chicago and Houston and Los Angeles, stopping in Europe, where we can also move cargo from the U.S. into Europe and then into Dubai. Next slide. Some of the South America. Next slide. Also into Africa, just to give you an idea. Next slide. Into the Middle East. Just so you know, also important for the Houston area, we've added quite a bit of lift now into the likes of Dammam, Riyadh, Jeddah, and many points in the Middle East now. Next slide. Into Europe. Next slide. Into Australia. Australia has been a pinch point right now where we're adding capacity as the very high demand right now into Australia particularly. Next slide. Okay, as far as COVID, things have changed dramatically over the last 3 days. 3 months. Where the first lockdowns, things were changing hourly. We're starting to get like a rhythm now, although still dynamic. For example, we are moving now passenger airplanes without passengers and loading cargo on the seats at times during the peak. And a lot of this is with PPE inbound, much out of China, much out of Southeast Asia, transiting via Dubai. So we did about up to 40 flights a week into the United States with passenger aircraft using the belly and the seats for loading. So a lot of uncertainty. What's incredible is the flexibility and the government support that we received in getting permits into specific countries to fly, because basically imagine taking your whole flight schedule and slots and turning it all upside down. So the support that we've had out of the UAE and Dubai to get those permits into those other countries has been nothing short of remarkable. The demand is also incredibly changed with a lot of e-commerce. Yes, a mile of runway can take you anywhere, but moving that data is the other element when it comes to that e-commerce, almost as important as moving the cargo itself. So the openings and the availability of infrastructure on the digital side has really provided us with much potential, particularly in e-commerce. Next slide. So this is our passenger freighter network now. So imagine having 11 freighters and a whole bunch of passenger aircraft available to you. This is our network without passengers. So moving cargo and cargo on passenger planes. We actually have 10 aircraft that we've removed the entire economy class seats and doing floor loading. So we call those mini freighters. So the flexibility and the quickness and did not hesitate to take advantage of and supply the world with the PPE that they need. Next slide. Just an idea of our operations: 6 flights a week out of Chicago. Those two of those are shared with Houston, where we have 2 flights a week, and a flight out of Los Angeles. So this is in addition to all those passenger freighters that we're operating and now slowly coming back with a passenger operation. Next. This is our schedule right now of passenger flights or passenger freighters. If you see 3 digits, that's actually a repatriation flight. If you see a 4-digit number, that's generally a pure freighter. Next slide. Here, this is just the difference of our pre-COVID network versus our current route network. And incredibly, it doesn't look that much different. So that's up to the expertise and the flexibility of our scheduling, our headquarter, our fleet, and the governments involved and the support that we've had from the UAE. Next. And that's it. I appreciate your time. So try to keep it short, Al, Danny.
So much, Jans. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, in the interest of time, we're gonna dispense with the Q&A session. I do want to announce that the CLE code for today's session is F57603. For those of you who need that code to get credit, I want to thank Seyfarth Shah for all of their help in pulling this together and for taking the lead and being the host of this and the co-host. For those of you, there are 1 or 2 questions that we did get in the Q&A. We'll make sure we get you written answers to those. And Your Excellency, Consul General Saeed Al-Mahari, I'm going to let it over to you to let one last closing remark, if you might like, and then we're going to say goodbye. Please, sir.
Thank you so much. Really appreciated the information that gave from all the entities, from our partners, Dubai FDI, JAFZA, DAFZA, and the other entities. Really appreciated the information. Thank you, US UAE Business Council, Dennis Bright, and Seyfarth Show, Mr. Sai. And please, this is the good opportunities to establish a new business for the companies here in USA, especially in Texas area, to develop their own business in the free zone in Dubai. So if you have any kind of questions, do you need any kind of support, you can reach us, the consulate here in Houston, or the Seyfarth Show, or US UAE Business Council. We are very helpful to support you and to do the business in UAE. Thank you so much. Really appreciated your help. Thank you.
Your Excellency, thank you so much. Thank you to all colleagues in the UAE and Dubai. It's getting a little late there right now. With that, we're going to end the webinar, and again, thanks Seyfarth Shah for organizing. Have a wonderful day. Have a wonderful evening. Look forward to seeing you all soon. Take care now.
Thank you. Thank you so much.